I have found that aside from wealth, one of the biggest indicators of social class is one's intellect. Your level of intellect will determine what social class you are a part of. Have you ever begun a conversation with someone and instantly you could tell by their failure to speak or hold a conversation with any sense of intellect that they were uneducated? Sounds so crazy it makes you squint. So many other social problems are associated with this. In my mother's house, there were a few things that we were quite certain of as children. As a matter of fact, if you walk into our living room now, on the wall you will see, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. There were a few things that we were sure of. Every Sunday morning we had to go to Sunday school and we had to go to church. We had to read at night. We couldn't just play Xbox all night. During the summertime, while everyone else was playing, we had to read. There were just a few things that we were certain of. But my mother was determined that I would be educated along with several other things. If I recall correctly, it was about the 9th grade. And I remember talking about my plans after high school with my mom. I wasn't quite sure what would suit me best, but she suggested to me this school called Morehouse College. Following the conversation, I had Googled it, Morehouse College, and up it popped. Google will save your life in college, Daquan. I figured out a little bit more about it, but it stayed towards the back of my mind. I had 3 years left. I didn't need to go quite yet. But then 9th grade had passed and 10th grade had passed. And as my years of high school began to wind down, I became a little bit lackadaisical. My work ethic began to slack and procrastination became second nature. My focus was very deterred and I had lost sight of what was most important. If you allow me to stop here for a moment, those of us who have lived long enough can attest that life has a way of presenting challenges even at the high points of our journey. Not only will the external forces or the things outside of us present challenges, but also internally, within our own selves, we will become weak and often deterred from our goals, aspirations, and our purpose in life. Especially when it seems as if though what we are believing God for is not fulfilling itself instantly. When we look at the miracles of Jesus, it always seems as if though those who were receiving the miracles received them instantly. All the woman with the issue of blood had to do was touch Jesus, and instantly she received her healing. We pay our tithes and we sow into the church with the belief that God will straighten out our finances, yet our credit score are still in the 300s, bills are overdue, and lights are just about off. We pray and fast, believing that spiritually we will grow, yet we don't see growth. We haven't spoken in tongues, and we struggle with the same thing for 10 long years. We teach our children to pray and teach them the things that they should do. We make them sing in the youth choir every Sunday and go to Sister Alexis' Sunday school class. But Sunday after Sunday, things don't get better, they only get worse. While climbing the ladder of life, trying to reach prosperity, often we as people will reach steps of uncertainty, steps of doubt, and steps of disbelief. In these steps, money will seem funny, change will seem strange, and homeboy will hit the headache. But I just wanted to encourage someone, as Paul did when he was speaking in Galatians. He said, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we faint not. It may look bad right now, but better is coming. While weeping may endure for a night, joy cometh in the morning. It may be hard right now, but we must continue in faith, professing the word of faith over our life, and believe God will see you through. Believing that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. While it may be hard right now, I will continue on professing the word of faith over my life. So to the finances that don't want to add up, I will stand and believe that God shall supply all of my needs according to his riches in glory. While to the body that doesn't want to be healed, but he was wounded for my transgressions and bruised for my iniquities. The chastisement of my peace is upon him, and by his stripes I am healed. So to the friends that wanted to walk away and said that I would never be nothing, say that I would never make anything of myself, let me high and dry. That's all right, because God has my back. As a matter of fact, when my mother and my father forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. I will stand believing God. So my first week of college started off with what's known as New Student Orientation, or NSO. During this week, we became familiar with our brothers and our sisters from Spelman and dear old Mother Morehouse. As the week came to an end, we participated in what's known as a parent parting ceremony. From that point on, we were known as Men of Morehouse. It was our time to transition from boys to young men. At that point, as we say, it got real. I was now on my own. Every decision was up to me. If I wanted to stay out all night, I could stay out all night. I had the liberty of buying whatever I chose without anyone saying Darien. I was on my own, but how many know that freedom to do whatever we want isn't always good? I was talking to my friend the other day and I said, you know what, I appreciate my mom being strict on me and not allowing me to stay up 1, 2 o'clock in the morning on a school night. I appreciate the fact that she didn't allow me to go hang out with all of my boys when I wanted to, because now looking back at it, I see how much further I have progressed, being that she took away from me. It's almost an inverse proportion. Jesus says, when he is teaching in John, that the vine that bears fruit, I purgeth it. Why would you take away from me and I'm bearing fruit? It's because I want you to bring on more things. She took away from me when I was younger because she realized what was coming was greater than what I had already said. But I'm going to keep right on going. Someone will catch that in a minute. One of the programs while I was there that I decided to join was known as the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel Assistance Program. And I had a title. I had the privilege of serving as a historian. The program consisted primarily of young aspiring theologians and preachers. And as young aspiring theologians and preachers, often we had asked theological questions to challenge ourselves. Those theological questions to me seem foolish. To hear people say, I don't believe in a devil or a hell, was quite foolish, crazy, unprecedented, unconventional. Didn't quite make sense to me. But they have these terms that they use, one of which would be a fundamentalist. And a fundamentalist is one who takes the Bible literally, word for word. That everything that this Bible says, it happens just the way it says it. If it's not in that Bible, I don't believe it. That's a fundamentalist. But then you have the one that is liberated. One who has an expanded consciousness, as they say. While I got there, one of the traditions that they have is to break the personality of the young fundamental freshman chapel assistants. They ask me questions. Everywhere I went, they always question me. Darien, do you really believe that Jesus got up from the grave after 3 days? How can a dead man who's been there for 3 days get up again? Darien, do you believe that a woman who has not had any sexual relations with a man can give birth to a baby? Darien, how is it that you believe this creation story when we don't know who had written it? We don't know when it came about. We just know that it's here. See, for that creation story, for many of us in the biblical stories, we hold these words that are written here very sacred to us, very close to our hearts. And at times, it can be very hard for someone to challenge us on what we believe. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Here in our text, we find that the Apostle Paul is addressing the church at Corinth. Paul makes the statement in verse 18 saying, for the preaching of the cross is to them that do not believe foolishness. The preaching of the cross of Jesus Christ is to them that do not believe in its power complete foolishness. Those who find no value in walking in the way of Jesus Christ find the preaching of such to be foolishness. Diligent prayer, fasting, and reading of sacred texts to them that do not believe is foolishness. It is considered foolishness to those who do not believe that we who do love the Lord thy God, whom we have not seen, with all of our hearts, all of our minds, and spirit, we love him so much that we love our neighbor and even our enemies. It is considered foolishness to have the mindset that with all the theological and medical advances, we can walk into a hospital room with a little bit of oil and the few scriptures that we know, and that we can lay our hands on the sick and say, silver and gold have I none. And I don't even have the degrees, but this little bit of faith that I have, I give to thee. And in the name of Jesus, get up and walk. Paul continues to say in the 25th verse, the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. And again, in the 27th verse, but God has chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. And God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound those which are mighty. It doesn't quite make sense that we believe all that we do. I can remember when I was growing up in church, when folks would get sick, they would come to the altar. Why is it that you're coming here when we have a hospital right down the road? I can remember times when we were lacking and without, and instead of going to get it and break our back for what we needed, we went and prayed and believed that God would supply every one of my needs. It's a foolish thing, I must be honest. It's quite crazy that we believe all that we do, but we believe it in spite of. I was talking to someone about my beliefs. To be completely honest, I don't mind being challenged or questioned about what I believe. I believe it, so therefore I must be able to defend it. I'm firm in what I believe. And as Paul said, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. This young lady began telling me about her religious beliefs and what she had thought concerning the creation story and other biblical stories. She said it makes it really hard to believe something when you have opposing facts. It makes it hard. Here are the facts, the cold hard facts, as they say. It would almost seem impossible. But can I share something with you, Restoration? Listening to the facts will leave you broke, busted, and disgusted. Listening to the facts says that I am a wretch undone, living in the world of sin, with no joy, no hope, and no peace within. But the truth says that if any man be in Christ Jesus, he is a new creature. That old things are passed away, and behold, all things become new. I know the facts, but I understand the truth. See, the fact is, Sister Terry, that you should have been gone a long time ago. But the truth is that God has kept you, and you are here. Now, see, the fact is, Brittany and Reggie, you shouldn't have been together, and you shouldn't have been successful and prosperous as you are. But the truth says that God has a plan and a purpose for your life and will work through whatever the enemy tries to throw your way. See, I know the facts, but I also understand the truth. And I told you I wouldn't be before you long. I'm going to close with this little story. This summer I had the privilege of working in retail. The privilege of working in retail. Specifically at Sunglass Hut. This past week I was continuing my training, and as the shift began to come, I was asked by one of my coworkers to finish up stocking a few pair of glasses. After agreeing to complete the task, I was handed keys that would give me access to the drawers where the glasses needed to be stocked. With this key, I would be able to unlock and open the drawer. The task was quite simple, very simple. First, I was to place the glasses in their individual bags. Then use the key to open the drawer. After which I would place the glasses in a specific box where it was labeled. I had done everything I was supposed to do. The task was very simple. It's so frustrating when all you have is a simple task, Brother Troy, but you cannot complete it. It makes you feel so incompetent. The task was very simple. I had successfully taken all the glasses and placed them in their individual bags, which was step number 1. Then, with the key, I attempted to open the door. Failing after my first attempt to open the door, I repositioned the key thinking that something had to be wrong. In hopes that I would unlock the door, I tried again. The second time only ended after the first. Now I'm going through thinking this has to be the key. This is the only one she gave me. Well, I'll try it again because I'm not going to her. I know I can do this thing on my own. The third time surely ended in failure. After trying the third time to unlock the door, my pride was hurt and I began to feel incompetent. The task was simple. First, I had to place the glasses in the individual bags. Then use the key to open the drawer. After which, I would place the glasses in the specific box where it was labeled. I had done everything I was supposed to do. Logically, this did not make sense. Why is this door not opening? My coworker came over to me. She bent down to my level. She bent down to the drawer, placed her hand on the drawer, and pulled it open with ease. She said, Darien, the problem wasn't that your key, check this, didn't work. The problem was you were holding a key to an open door. See, for many of us, the problem is not that we don't have the keys. I believe that Jesus has given us the answer. The problem is that we are trying to unlock an open door. See, while we are sitting here trying to figure out how God is going to work this thing out, we're trying to figure out how this is going to happen. We're trying to figure out how this bill is going to get paid. We're trying to figure out how God is going to pay this $20,000 in tuition. I'm trying to figure out where my next meal is going to come from. I'm trying to figure out where my healing is come from. God has already worked it out. Stop worrying. Stop complaining about what you don't have. Just walk in the knowledge and the faith that God will work it out. Told you I wasn't going to be long. But in this life, we will face some challenges that would almost seem to take us out. Seem as if though there is no answer, there is no logical hope. But I'm reminded of the blind man who had been born blind from birth. And Jesus had healed the blind man. And they, those sanctified